from the outside just looks like a flawless, okay, you're either born Seth Godin or you're not. Um,
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a meta comment and I'm happy to share. I'm super proud of my failures. I've had more failures than most people. And that's the key. I wouldn't trade in any of them
really.
because if you don't have the failures, it means that you're not leaning toward the edges that allow you to do creative work. And the interesting question is, why is the Failure Olympics so popular? Why do people, in the first episode of your podcast, you talked about how it felt to hit the wall a year and a half before you sold your company. And why didn't anyone tell you that others had gone through this? But of course, lots of people told you that. You just have to read, Winston Churchill's biography or 500 books on any historical figure, any business thing, all the twists and turns of Western Union and Alexander Graham Bell and Thomas Edison. It's all there. We don't need more of it. We just don't pay attention to it. And I think I know why we don't pay attention to it. But if it makes people feel better to know that I got 900 rejection letters in a row, that I was eating macaroni and cheese for dinner and then window shopping in restaurants, that people who cared about me said I needed to quit and go get a job as a bank teller, that the biggest client we had at AOL threatened to have me arrested if I showed up on their campus, and on and on and on and on and on. And the fact that I could have launched whatever, all of those things happened and I'm proud of them. But focusing on them hides the real thing, which is we want to believe that we are different, that when we do creative work or leadership, which is the same thing, we want to believe that this time it's going to be easy, we're going to be seen, we're going to be understood, we're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And so there's no reason to read about how all these yokels who didn't understand what you understand have failed, because you're not going to fail and it's going to be fine. Because we have to tell ourselves that, we think, in order to find the guts to launch creative work in the first place. And that's what I'm trying to do in the practice, is not share all my failures, but help people understand failure is what creativity is based on.
Tell me more about what that narrative you'd like, if you feel like that is a narrative that can be helpful to get started, but maybe it isn't a truly nutritious narrative. What would be the more nutritious narrative for the person listening to this that has been, as you talk about in the book, kind of distracted by a passion, but thinking maybe I should pursue this, or I kind of tried 5 years ago? What would be the healthiest narrative for them to ruminate on?
Well, so imagine that you're a running coach and someone comes to you and says, I really want to run the marathon. Can I train with you? And you say, great. And they say, but I want to be able to do it without getting tired. No, you can't train with me, because the point of running the marathon is to get tired. If you're not tired, you're not running fast enough, right? That no one argues about this. No one says, I want to be able to run marathons and not sweat. I want to run marathons and not get tired. Not how it works. So the reason that organizations, after they have 3 or 4 people in them, tend to slow down and become less brave is A, they have meetings now where they didn't have to because there are more people. But B, most people don't sign up to be serial failures. And what it means to do any sort of creative work, whether you're Jackson Pollock or Spike Lee or anyone in between, is persistently and consistently discovering how it's not done before you stumble onto something that other people didn't expect that works. That's the deal. That's how it works.
Why is that so hard to grok when it actually sounds so brilliantly simple and analogous to everything we have seen before?
If 15,000 years ago you were in a village and you offended the tribal leader, they kicked you out and you got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger and you died. And so you had no grandchildren. And so we evolved culturally to understand that getting kicked out of the village is a really bad idea. And in an era of industrial capitalism, Manchester, England in the 1880s, if you challenged what the foreman said to do on the factory floor, you were fired. And just like the person thrown out of the village, your family was going to go hungry. And so industrial capitalism, which we brainwash kids on for 12 years in school, is, will this be on the test? and how do I get an A? And many of the people who have the means to start an organization or a project are the kind of people who also were pretty good at school. And so we have to go against everything that we've evolved as a culture and everything that we've been brainwashed in to say, I am going to do something that might not work. That is totally different than saying, I'm going to open a Subway franchise. Because the whole deal with a Subway franchise is it's not going to fail. You're only going to make $12 an hour, but it's not going to fail. That's why there's so many Subway franchises. Mm-hmm. Not because there's a good upside, but because there's almost no downside.
Man, so many life decisions and even things just bouncing around in my head right now. It's still so, you're so great at brilliantly outlining these things. You have a beautiful mind, Seth, of just the biological, evolutionarily structured mind of no matter what, do not get kicked out of the community. I know for myself, it is a prison that I can accidentally walk into and lock the door on of what will other people say.